ever want to sound more American? Have you ever wanted to enunciate words and phrases better so that you can feel confident in interviews, in your everyday life, and professional speaking English? Well, stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to share my exclusive pronunciation system so that you can learn how to pronounce the top 15 phrases in English and feel confident in the process. Stay tuned. Hello, it's Francisca from English to Thrive. Welcome back to my channel where I release videos every single Friday on English confidence for tech-savvy professionals. Now, I hope you're excited for this video. And if you are, give it a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified for when I release new videos. Now, it's funny, but I've been confused for a native English speaker many times. I'm not. I'm actually from South America, and many people ask me, how do you pronounce like this? Well, in this video, we're going to learn about my exclusive pronunciation system to sound more American. Now, let's start. Now, the first phrase that we're going to study is speak of the devil. Now, what is speak of the devil? Speak of the devil means you're talking about someone, this person suddenly appears. So phrase would be, hey Sarah, speak of the devil. We're just talking about you. Okay, so how do you pronounce it? First of all, you have speak, and remember that S has to be pretty fast. So no speak, as speak, right? It's like speak. So speak of the devil. Now, here's why my amazing pronunciation system makes things easy. Now, if you take the word devil, I want you to first visualize it because unfortunately, English is not pronounced as it is written. So you have to keep in mind that it's all about the sound, the memory, and the in-between vowel system, which means that if devil is pronounced as devil and it is written as D-E-V-I-L, what I want you to do is pronounce the first part normally, duh, and then vo, right? So you have an I, so you know that it's written as an I, but in your mind, I want you to think of both an E and an O, right? So it's not devil, it's not devil, it's devil, devil. So it's actually between the E and the O. So you have to visualize an in-between space in your mind. Vo, vo. So not vel, not vol, but vo, devil. Okay, I know it can be very tricky, which is why my system is based on sound, memory, and the phonetics in between vowel system. Now, the second phrase is to kill two birds with one stone, which means to solve two problems at once. So for example, let's say that you invested in a course and you actually saved money in the process, right? So it's like, oh my God, I feel so amazing because I killed two birds with one stone. I spent little money and I learned a lot in the process. So you saved some money and you learned a lot in the process. So that's how the phrase goes. Anyway, so what we're going to learn is this T sound is very important because most Spanish speakers tend to pronounce it as t, when it is actually ch. So it is not to kill, no, it's to kill, right? So you have to visualize, first of all, you have to listen to a lot of words where the T is enunciated so you can memorize it. But then you have to think it as if it was a CH. So t, instead of a T, a CH. So t, to kill. And then you have the T again, which is TWO, right? Two. So to kill, okay. To kill two birds with one stone. Now, remember that the word stone as well, you don't want to pronounce it as S-tone. You want to pronounce it as stone, okay? So it has to be pretty fast. So let's repeat it again. To kill two birds with one stone. Great job. Now let's go into the following one. Now the following phrase is to call it a day. Now I love this phrase and it means basically to stop doing something. So I'm really tired. I think I'm gonna call it a day. Now, the tricky part here is when you are pronouncing it, right? Because if you enunciate call, right? Call, and then because it's pretty fast, you don't actually say call it a day. You say call it a day. So the T actually, you have to visualize it as an R. So call it a. But when you actually join these two words, it's like with an R. So call it a day. So call it a day. Now let's repeat it. Call it a day. You see how a sound can really make a difference between you pronouncing as with your native language accent and you sounding more like an American. Now, clarification, it does not matter if you have the perfect accent. That's not what's important. The important thing is that you're actually understood. But if you're actually speaking with native English speakers, if they're from the US, it's going to be more comprehensible for them, and there's going to be less communication barriers if you actually learn how to enunciate, and this system can really help. Now let's take the following phrase, which is a blessing in disguise. My students love to use this phrase. I don't know why, but I do have an everyday imitation audio, and you can find it below. You can actually download that free audio below in which you can practice several phrases and imitate them as if you were a native English speaker. But yeah, they love to use them, and they've actually used it in successful interviews because it adds kind of like an element of, oh my God, I am a pro speaker. You know, I feel confident, I feel fluent, you can understand me, I can get specific outcomes out of that conversation. And that is the main goal. Now, a blessing in disguise actually means, well, something negative happened, but it turned out to be positive. So for example, the pandemic was a blessing in disguise because I actually got to start my business and it's been successful. So that could be a blessing in disguise. Now, let's focus on disguise, right? Because it is written as GU, so the good, but it is more pronounced as a K. So again, you want to listen to a lot of things in English all the time, and I talk about having the habit of listening here in this video, so make sure you check it out. But you want to always prioritize listening in English because that's going to be that is one of the keys of this fantastic, as I call it, fantastic pronunciation system. So it's the sound memory, which is the priority, plus the phonetics in between vowel system state. And so, for example, if you take G, you're gonna hear it as a K instead of a G. So a blessing in disguise. So not disguise, disguise. A blessing in disguise. Right? So you want to think of it as if you adding a little bit of the K element. So not completely disguise, but disguise. A blessing in disguise. Okay? So this gets better with time, and remember, it's all about practice. And this is one of the exercises that you can actually improve by yourself. If you want to learn more techniques on improving your English by yourself, I actually have an amazing video that you can check it out here, and I also leave the link below. But be kind to yourself. Nothing happens overnight. Now, the following phrase is actually to bite the bullet. And that means that you actually decide to do something that's kind of unpleasant and you have been avoiding to do for a while. So to bite the bullet. So let's say that, oh, I'm finally gonna have this uncomfortable conversation with him. I'm gonna bite the bullet. Okay, so that's what it means. Now, here what you have to notice is that when you pronounce bullet, it's not actually bullet or bullet. It's bullet. It's between the U and the O. Again, that in between vowel state is very important. So bite the bullet. So not bullet, not bullet, but bullet. Okay? And as I said, you want to listen to English every single day. Learning in English, listening to songs in English is very helpful because that is actually what's gonna accelerate your pronunciation. See, the more that you listen to a good accent, you are gonna have that good accent. And that's why when people say, oh, I wanna have one-to-one conversation in English, that's not enough to have an amazing pronunciation or an amazing native-like pronunciation. You actually have to listen as well as, writing, just immersing yourself as much as you can. Now, the following phrase is the elephant in the room, and that is when something is clearly going on and nobody wants to speak about it. That is the elephant in the room. So for example, let's say that I'm in a sales conversation and this person says, oh, I actually, I don't have any time. I don't have any time to study English. Well, the elephant in the room there is that probably that's an excuse. You do have time, it's just like you're not prioritizing it, okay? So that's the elephant in the room. Now, here's a very important element that the Fantastic Pronunciation System highlights, and it is the fact of memory. Now, we all know that elephant obviously is written as E-L-E-P-H-A-N-T. Now, of course, one as a native Spanish speaker would think of it as P, like L-P, right? But here is where the memory comes into play. Now, obviously, I am not going to say it as elephant because I've listened to the word many times and I already know that when I see a PH, it's going to be F, right? So it's not going to be elephant, no, it's going to be elephant. And I know this may sound a little bit basic, right? Especially for students who generally work with me, which are low intermediate, high intermediate, but this can be applied to any other word that you've never seen, right? And the next time you're going to know how to pronounce because you've already actually prioritized memory in the system. The same as room, the elephant in the room. Now, as Spanish speakers, we generally tend to pronounce the R as r, right? Room. But in English, it's not like that. And how do we know? Because we've already listened to a lot of stuff that indicate us that it is right? It sounds funny, you can laugh. Room, right? The elephant in the room. Now, let's go into the following phrase. Now, the following phrase is you can't judge a book by its cover. Now, notice that in American, it would be you can't judge a book by its cover. It's just sometimes, because I lived in England for a year and because sometimes I speak with a lot of, people from the UK, and again, as I said, you actually repeat what you listen to. Sometimes I tend to say can't instead of can't, but in American it's can't. So let's say you can't judge a book by its cover. Now, here, the thing, apart from like the key that it is can't, because if you would say can't, it's more, Australian, British, you have to know that judge, it is written as J-U-D-G-E. And then this J, you have to know that by memory as well. It's always going to be pronounced as ch, like a CH. So judge, right? Judge. You have to think of the G as a CH. Now try it. Judge. Judge. So you can't judge a book by its cover, which means actually don't be superficial. Like don't just look at the surface. Look at what's within and the inside. So you can't judge a book by its cover. So the 8th phrase is to feel under the weather. Okay, and this means to feel sick, not to feel well. And so the tricky part here is that the word under, so to feel under, you don't pronounce it as under, or under, you pronounce it as under. So it's between the U and the O. So under, right? Not under or under, it's under. Okay, to feel under the weather. And then obviously the TH, you have to be careful because you don't want to confuse the T sound, the CH sound T with the weather, right? The TH, you have to remember that you have to put actually your tongue between your teeth. Weather. So to feel under the weather, yes? Now, the following phrase is getting a taste of your own medicine, which means that you're actually going to be treated as you have been treating others, but in a negative way, right? Getting a taste of your own medicine. Now, here we have getting with double T, and here you have to remember that you have to pronounce it as an R, okay? So getting, okay? A taste, and then here you want to also visualize the sound memory of the system, T, which would be as a CH. So T, instead of a T, taste, it would be taste, right? Getting a taste of your own medicine. And that's all you have to know basically to pronounce this phrase. So let's try it. Getting a taste of your own medicine. Now remember that I do have an audio that I would love for you to download, which is my everyday imitation audio. My students love it because it makes them feel like pro speakers. So you can check that out below. Now the following phrase is giving someone the cold shoulder, which means ignoring someone. Basically that, yeah, I know it sounds awful, but that's what it means. So here, nothing tricky about giving someone the cold shoulder. What you have to worry about enunciating is the cold, right? You have to actually pronounce that very strongly, cold. So giving someone the cold shoulder. And then here, shoulder, we all know that it is written as shoulder, shoulder, but you want to again fixate that you have the OU, right? And then the first letter, the O, you want to keep it in your mind, but you also want to think mentally of an A, because you're not going to pronounce it as shoulder or shoulder. It's in between shoulder, right? And that is how you get an American-like pronunciation. So not shoulder, not shoulder, shoulder. So always keep in mind what you see and what you think of again. So I hope you feel excited because you have now learned 10 of the most common phrases in English. And comment below, how are you finding the system? Is this something that you have learned before? Do you actually know how to pronounce these phrases? Let me know, I would love to know. Now, for the following and the last 5, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the phrase here. And what you're gonna do is based on my system, which is sound plus memory and the between vowel state of phonetics, you're going to implement. And then, only then, I am going to reveal the final pronunciation. So let's begin. That is to cost an arm and a leg. Remember the k, right? To cost an arm and a leg. And that means that it is really, something is really expensive to cost an arm and a leg. Now, the following one, how's it pronounced? Now, it is pronounced to see eye to eye. Remember, as one of the phrases that I explained, the t, this time it's not the ch sound, ch, it is more like the, because you say to see eye to eye, and it is really fast, so to see eye to eye, to see eye to eye. Okay, and this means to agree on something, to agree with someone on something. This is the following one. Got it? So, a piece of cake, which means something's really easy. Oh, the example is a piece of cake, right? Remember to accentuate the cake, right? The C and the K, cake, piece of cake. This is the following one. Stealing someone's thunder, okay? So it means to steal someone else's achievements, to steal someone else's credit for their achievements. So in this case, remember the memory of the TH. So it's not, it's thunder, right? Stealing someone's thunder, okay? Now, this is the final one, number 15. Let's repeat it. To hit the nail on the head. And that means describing exactly what the situation is of a particular problem. Now, to pinpoint exactly what the problem is. To hit the nail on the head. Now, well, we have finished. I hope that you have enjoyed learning about the pronunciation of these 15 phrases. Now, I do have a whole roadmap if you want to go from feeling limited and frustrated to absolutely confident and fluent to capitalize on more career opportunities. So if that is you, I'll leave a link below and you can actually book a call. You can have a free strategy English confidence call to also see if you're a fit for my program. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do so. And also, if you have enjoyed this video, give it a little like, because it helps with the algorithm and it helps for other non-native English speaking professionals to see this and to improve and master their pronunciation and accent. Now, for the next video, I hope you're really excited because I'm going to teach you how to actually write pretty fast and write professional emails, so make sure that you stay tuned. I also have a playlist on habit building, so if you sometimes struggle to feel motivated and you feel like you start learning and then you just stop it altogether, make sure that you watch this next. Bye bye.